So at this point, in any Vikings season, when they failed to live up to the expectations they set during the regular season, we have to ask ourselves why they came up short. Who do we blame? But there are five reasons, I think, why the Vikings came up short. And rather than go from 5 to 1, I'm gonna go from 1 to 5. I'm gonna start with the number one reason: K.O.C. Kevin Ocasio-Cortez. Okay, let's go back to how the Rams start the game. Stafford drops back. Who does he throw to? Nakua, the guy the Vikings refused to cover in the first game against the Rams this year. And Sean McVay's like, we're just gonna drop back and throw right to him. Put it right in the Vikings' face. 27 yards. You got our Vikings zone defense covering nobody as usual. And the Rams just kept throwing. Vikings, of course, start. K.O.C. calls a run play on the first play of the game and gets nothing. I think it lost a yard. And so it's like 2nd and 11. 2nd and 11, the second offensive play of the game. What does he call? And let's remember the context here. The previous game the Vikings played against the Lions, the Vikings offensive line just was blown up by like the backup defensive line for the Lions. Just blown up the whole game. Of course, the Lions were blitzing too. They're just putting constant pressure on Darnold. Darnold couldn't handle it. So what would you think you do? Maybe try to have some quick developing plays to start the game? Some quick plays, some quick passes? Or do you line up Justin Jefferson in the backfield and then have him run like a standard out route, which basically means he has to run like an extra 5 to 7 yards for his out route, or 10 extra yards compared to what he'd have to run if he was lined up either in the slot or outside, if he was lined up normally. So you're adding 1 to 2 seconds to his route. But it looks like the design of the play was to throw to him. So you're deliberately calling a play, first pass play of the game, obvious passing down. It's deliberately slow to develop. And nobody can block anybody. The Rams only rush 4. Nobody can block anybody. Darnold gets crushed. There's nothing Darnold could do. Once that first read wasn't there, the play was over. He had no chance. So that's how you start the game. The last 2 weeks, the Lions game, the Rams game, Kevin O'Connell had absolutely nothing. Nothing. There was not a single play that they weren't expecting. Not a single play that a quarterback whisperer or an offensive mastermind would have called. It was just the most vanilla crap you've ever seen. Because he gave up. Who quit on the Vikings? Kevin O'Connell. He quit. You could see it on his expression. That first drive, I think after the first play where Aaron Jones got stopped, they show O'Connell on the sideline. He looked like he'd given up. His body language, everything. Pathetic. So as much as we want to talk about Darnold coming up short and his failure, I blame O'Connell a lot more than I blame Darnold. Now my second person I blame is Quazi or their general manager, who's an analytics guy, which basically means he's a wimp and doesn't value toughness. He values numbers. He doesn't value intangibles. He doesn't value a guy who can, block somebody when it counts. Or, a guy who can, catch a punt. Or block a punt when you run past the punter. He doesn't value that. I don't know what he values, but you look at who's the best player the Vikings have? Justin Jefferson. Who drafted Justin Jefferson? Not Quazi. Someone else did. Who has he drafted that's really turned out? I don't even know. And what's he done for our offensive line? Every year it's the same thing. Every year it's the same thing. Oh, he brought in Cam Robinson. Well, he was getting blocked back into Darnold. I just don't see, I don't see a lot from him, and I don't see the type of team we need to be to win coming from Quazi or from Kevin Ocasio-Cortez. It's not going to happen. We're not going to be that Dan Campbell type or even a John Harbaugh type, Jim Harbaugh type. We're not going to be that type of team that out-toughs the other team. And we also don't outthink, outcoach, out anything the other team. Best example of that is our offensive line, of course, our number 3 reason that we lost. They just suck. They're just terrible. But in their defense, play calling doesn't help them either. Play calling does not help them. The Rams come out throwing, getting the defense on their heels. Vikings come out, run into a brick wall, and do a slow developing pass play so that the defense feels comfortable pinning their ears back and that O-line is helpless to stop it. Number 4 reason the Vikings lost. I don't even want to say this name. Harrison Smith. One of the most overrated players of all time. Oh, look at his stats. He's the only player in NFL history with 35 interceptions and 13 forced fumbles and 24 sacks and 80,000 missed tackles. Congratulations. Point me to one signature play he's made. I guess missing a tackle on Golden Tate in overtime against the Lions that one year against Matthew Stafford. There was a play in the first quarter on the Rams' second drive. The running back for the Rams, don't know his name, not look it up. Harrison Smith, he ran right into Harrison Smith and ran right through Harrison Smith. Just the most feeble tackle attempt. And then he fumbled on that play. And who was not there to recover it? Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith had, after he missed the tackle, continued following the play instead of just falling on his face. He could have recovered that fumble. But what does he do? He falls on his face, and the Rams recover the fumble. Get 3 more points. A lot of Vikings made a lot of plays this year on defense. Grenard, Pace, Cashman, Van Ginkel, Murphy, Harrison Smith. No. Talk about needing a tough team. Well, we need tough guys, not fake tough guys like Harrison Smith. And I'm sure I'll probably lose like 10 of my 30 subscribers for saying this, but if you got a 22 jersey and you like to wear it, that's fine. Fine if you wanna believe he's that great. Just go watch that missed tackle. Go watch how slow he is to react to passes down the field. Just watch. My number 5 reason they lost, of course, it's Darnold. He was helpless. I think with some decent play calls, it could have been a lot better. He could have done a lot better. I don't think he was helped at all by his coach, but he also couldn't help himself. You can see how to beat him. But also, he's the reason we lost because the fact that we had to have him out there. That's a reflection of our leadership, letting it get to that point where we had no other option going into this year. And unfortunately, Darnold did so much throughout the regular season that our expectations became much higher than they would have been at the start of the year for him. And he couldn't live up to the high expectations he set. And the Vikings lost. But I don't know. I don't see much coming from Kevin O'Connell. The reason the Vikings were better this year is really their defense. The playmakers on defense. It's not O'Connell. So I'm just kind of discouraged that I don't believe in O'Connell. He's definitely not going to get us to a Super Bowl ever. And so what do I do? Do I keep making videos? Probably, but you just saw how this team could be really good. And it feels like their coach found a way to get the absolute minimum out of them at the most important time. It's just too bad.